Some examples. An AKA name would be a past married name, a maiden name. That's a common ambiguity. It can be very confusing. We cut through it like a hot knife through butter. Another example of an AKA name would be perhaps a misspelling of your name on an application for credit, service, whatever, that now resides in a database. For example, my last name is Dunlap, D-U-N-L-A-P. A very common misspelling of that is D-U-N-L-O-P. I think D-U-N-L-O-P is more common. And so I have an also known as an AKA name of Cameron Dunlap, because somewhere along the lines I filled out an application and somebody misspelled it, and they didn't look hard enough. They looked at D-U-N-L and assumed what the rest of it was, put me in their system as Dunlap, and now I have an alias name of Cameron Dunlap. I have another alias name, and that's Carmen. Okay, my name, as you know, is Cameron, but somehow people see Cameron as Carmen. And so I end up, I've in the past ended up in a database as Carmen Dunlap and Carmen Dunlop. And as a result, now have alias names like that. Now you might say, well, how does this affect me if I'm the real estate investor looking for this person? Well, it's entirely possible that the tax rolls are wrong and that you're actually looking for someone else by another name. Here's another scenario. Let's say that the seller you're looking for's name is John David. Well, somewhere along the lines, and it could have happened with the tax roll or anywhere along the line, that could have gotten transposed, and maybe the person you think you're looking for is David John. It might be us, findtheseller.com, who tell you and say, you know what's pretty funny? We know you submitted your search in the name of David John, but the fellow you're looking for is actually, his name is John David. And I think you'll find that interesting. We cut through this name ambiguity thing like a hot knife through butter. We also are going to tell you if the person you're looking for is in bankruptcy. This can be very, very useful because buying houses from people in bankruptcy is a phenomenal strategy. Phenomenal, unbelievably profitable. And you might say, well, yeah, but then I have to deal with the bankruptcy court trustee. In most cases you do, but I'm here to tell you, they can often be even more motivated than the seller would have been if there wasn't a bankruptcy involved. And by the way, if you go to the free teletrainings page at CameronDirect.com, you'll find an interview I did with Mark Klee and Karen McKinney on buying houses out of bankruptcy. It's very interesting. You might want to give that a listen sometime if you haven't. We'll get you historical information as far back as 30 years. However, our default is 10 because what we find is if we go back more than 10, the information tends to get a little old and dated. But if for some reason, whatever it may be, you would like to go back further than the 10, all you have to do is give us an indication of that, and we'll go back as far as you like, up to 30 years. It can be very interesting. Here's a letter that I got from Anthony Colon. He's a young guy, and this was his very first deal. He's in his early 20s. It says, I'm really excited because you guys have made me money. On my very first skip trace, I found the seller easily, did the deal, and made $20,000 in cash by wholesaling the house to another investor. I just had to let you know. I'd recommend your service to anyone. It'll work. It'll make them money too. This, again, was Anthony's very first deal. And if you haven't done your first deal yet, and I know that there are many folks on the line tonight where that's the case, then may I strongly suggest you pursue this strategy to do your first deal. Why? Because it's easy and it's fast. So that's for you if you haven't done a deal yet. If you're doing deals, may I suggest you utilize this strategy as an add-on niche to create steady cash flow on a regular basis. Let's face it, doing short sales and stuff is huge right now, but those deals can take months to mature. And yeah, the paychecks may be bigger, but in the meantime, you need cash flow, and that's why this strategy, turning vacant houses into gold, is so powerful because it fills in the gaps. Okay, here's another letter. This is from Amy and Bruce Mack from Henderson, Nevada. This is an interesting one, and it kind of leads me to something important here. It says, when my husband and I attended the boot camp, and let me go on. When I attended the boot camp in September, we learned about your service. I was skeptical if the service could be as good as described, but I knew I had to do something as we were spending $150 per skip trace running using a local private detective. Now the next line is an error. It says, we signed up for your 1,000 skip trace plan from your company, and so we don't offer that anymore. So please, that's something we never did offer what they're describing. It's a complete and utter typo. It says, I'm very happy to say that the very first skip trace we did using your service resulted in a detailed report as you described in class. Looking through this report, we located a cellular phone number for the homeowner who had abandoned his house. One call later, we had an appointment with him. He came over the next day and deeded us his house for a payment of $500. This guy, all he wanted was $500 for the deed, and gave him the house. Attached, please find the escrow check we received after we rehabbed the property and sold it to a nice young family. I'd encourage any of your students to use this service. It certainly works well for us. And there's the check. They made $67,000 on a house where, had we not found this person's cell phone number, they would not have done the deal, and probably why no one else had done it. So yes, we do find unlisted and cell phone numbers. Now, there's not a database of these to go and tap into. However, what is common is for someone to use or to list their unlisted phone number on an application for service, for credit, for DMV, for whatever. I mean, look, let's face it, when you fill out an application and asks you for a phone number, if your phone number is unlisted, you're not going to worry about putting it on that application because that doesn't suddenly make it a listed number. It remains unlisted in the phone book and if you call 411, but then it goes into a database where we have access. Same thing with cell phones. A lot of you guys are using your cell phones as your primary phones anymore. So when you fill out an application for anything, it asks you for your phone number, you put your cell phone number in there, goes into a database where we can get it. Now, that's sort of like going in the back door to access this information, and I am here to tell you right now, it could be worth $67,000 to you. That's one of the most powerful aspects of this service is that we are able to get those numbers where you can't get them otherwise. Okay, we have a no records, no fee guarantee. Here's what it says. It's simply that if we find no information on the person you're looking for, if we just simply can't find any information about them, well then you pay nothing. And this is the other statistic that we track very closely in our office. And we are running steadily at a 96% find rate. In other words, 96% of the time, we find information on the person you're looking for. 96% of the time. Now, there's a couple of reasons for that. One is the data that we have access to. We only access the very finest, most accurate, up-to-date information out there. And again, that is only available to folks or to outfits like ours. And I haven't told you this, but I spent 2 years putting this business together before we ever started doing anything, even just for myself, because of the joint ventures and licensing and a basic nightmare that it took to get to the point where I could do this. And in fact, if you're wondering why I would own a company called findtheseller.com, it was originally started by me for me. And it was a great friend of mine, Ron LeGrand, who suggested that I take this thing public. In other words, take it and roll it out and make it available to folks like yourself. And in fact, that was a great idea that, believe it or not, hadn't occurred to me. I literally started this for my own use. And so in the process of doing that, really went through a lot of trouble and a lot of hassle to make darn sure that I had only the very finest data available to me. So that's one reason why we have a 96% find rate. The other reason that I think could be summed up as we care. We just care. I mean, we know why you want the information. We know what you're going to do with it when you get it. We know that you need it quickly. And so we don't make assumptions. We don't give up easily. In fact, if we're unable to find information on the person you're looking for, that's kind of where it gets interesting and fun for us in here. So we start looking into other areas and maybe drop all our assumptions about the person's name, David, John, John, David, stuff like that.